Most people believe they know themselves. They know their opinions, their preferences, their personality type. But Carl Jung believed something far more unsettling, that a large part of who you are is not who you think you are. There is a hidden inner figure shaping how you love, desire, admire, reject, and project meaning onto others. You don't consciously choose this figure. You don't even see it clearly. Yet, it silently influences your relationships, your fantasies, your emotional reactions, and even the people you fall in love with. Carl Jung called these inner figures the anima and the animus. And once you understand them, you begin to see why so many relationships fail, why attraction feels mysterious, and why people often fall in love with an image, not a person. This is not self-help. This is depth psychology, and it may change how you see yourself forever. Carl Jung believed the human psyche is not a single voice. It is a structure, layered and symbolic. At its surface lies the ego, the part of you that says, "This is who I am." Beneath it lies the personal, unconscious, forgotten memories and experiences. And deeper still lies the collective unconscious, inherited psychological patterns shared by humanity. Within this deep layer exist archetypes. The anima and animus are two of the most powerful. The basic idea. According to Carl Jung, the anima is the unconscious feminine aspect within a man. The animus is the unconscious masculine aspect within a woman. These are not social roles. They are not stereotypes. They are psychological principles. The anima relates to feeling, imagination, mood, receptivity, and inner life. The animus relates to structure, opinion, direction, conviction, and assertion. Every psyche contains both principles, but one usually operates unconsciously. And whatever remains unconscious acts autonomously. Carl Jung believed consciousness is selective. You identify with certain traits and reject others. What you reject does not disappear. It sinks. The anima, or animus, becomes unconscious because it contradicts the ego's self-image. A man raised to suppress vulnerability may repress his emotional depth. A woman discouraged from assertiveness may repress her inner authority. The psyche compensates. What is repressed internally is projected externally. Projection, the key mechanism. Projection is not imagination. It is perception distorted by the unconscious. You don't see others as they are. You see them as carriers of your hidden inner figure. This is why attraction feels irrational. You are not drawn to the person. You are drawn to your anima, or animus, reflected back at you. Carl Jung described the anima as a living inner presence. She is not gentle by default. She is not kind by default. She can be inspiring or destructive. The 4 stages of the anima. Carl Jung outlined 4 symbolic stages of anima development. Eve, instinctual, biological femininity. Helen, romantic and aesthetic femininity. Mary, spiritual and moral femininity. Sophia, wisdom, depth, and inner truth. A man unconsciously possessed by the early stages may become emotionally volatile, dependent, or idealizing. A man who integrates the later stages gains emotional insight, creativity, and inner balance. But integration is rare. When the anima remains unconscious, she does not disappear. She possesses. Carl Jung observed men who suddenly fall into irrational moods, depressive states, or romantic obsession, seemingly out of nowhere. This is anima possession. symptoms of anima possession. Over-idealizing romantic partners, sudden emotional swings, creative inspiration followed by paralysis, dependency on emotional validation. The anima becomes a tyrant when ignored. She demands recognition, not obedience. Before we go deeper, one quick thing. More than 90% of the people watching this video are not subscribed. If this content helps you understand yourself even a little more, subscribing directly supports the growth of this channel and makes it possible to keep creating deeper psychology and self-development videos like this. It only takes a second, but it makes a real difference. The animus operates differently. While the anima appears as mood and image, the animus appears as opinion and voice. Carl Jung described it as an inner chorus of judgments. How the animus speaks. The animus often speaks in absolute statements. This is how things are. People are always like this. That will never work. When unconscious, the animus does not think, it asserts. This can lead to rigidity, internal conflict, or projection onto authority figures. An unconscious animus can dominate a woman's inner life. Carl Jung observed that animus possession often appears as harsh self-criticism, dogmatic beliefs, emotional detachment, masked as strength. The trap of false certainty. The animus offers certainty without understanding. Integration transforms this voice from an inner dictator into an inner guide. Carl Jung believed most romantic relationships begin with projection. You do not fall in love with a human being. You fall in love with a symbol. The projection collapse. At first, projection feels magical. The other person feels perfect, meaningful, transformative. Then reality intrudes. When the projection collapses, many relationships end, not because love failed, but because illusion dissolved. Real love begins after projection is withdrawn. Few relationships survive this stage. Withdrawing projection is psychologically painful. It feels like loss, disillusionment, or emptiness. But Carl Jung believed this pain is necessary. What you reclaim. When projection is withdrawn, you reclaim emotional depth, creative power, inner authority. What you admired externally was always yours. Individuation is the central process of Carl Jung's psychology. It is the integration of unconscious contents into consciousness. The anima and animus are not enemies to overcome. They are bridges. Integration, not elimination. Integration means dialogue, listening without surrender, acknowledging without obeying. The psyche becomes whole, not by choosing one side, but by holding tension between opposites. Carl Jung warned that modern society disrupts inner balance. External roles replace inner development. Ideology replaces self-reflection. As a result, people seek completion in others. Relationships carry unbearable psychological weight. Identity becomes fragile. The anima and animus become projected onto partners, leaders, movements, and ideals. This creates obsession, not meaning. You may be projecting if attraction feels overwhelming and immediate. Criticism feels disproportionately intense. You feel completed by another person. Separation feels like loss of identity. The question Carl Jung would ask, what part of myself am I seeing out there? Carl Jung believed dreams are the primary language of the anima and animus. They appear as figures, guides, antagonists, or lovers. Ignoring them does not silence them. Why symbols matter. Symbols are not metaphors. They are expressions of psychological reality. Understanding them requires patience, not interpretation shortcuts. These concepts are often distorted. They are not about gender politics. They are not about roles or behavior. They describe inner polarity. Reducing them to social debate destroys their psychological depth. Carl Jung warned against literalizing symbols. Integration does not feel dramatic. It feels quieter, less obsession, less projection, more presence. The shift: you stop needing others to carry your missing parts. Relationships become encounters, not rescues. Carl Jung believed the greatest danger is not the unconscious itself. It is unconsciousness of it. The anima and animus are not problems to solve. They are inner realities to meet. When ignored, they rule from the shadows. When recognized, they become allies. And perhaps the most unsettling truth of all is this: the person you are searching for outside has always been waiting inside.